Amal Unbound by Aisha Said. Read for you by Mrs. Shoemaker. Chapter 3. Omar waited for me by the narrow stream that sliced through the length of our village. This was one of our usual spots, the wooded area next to my father's fields, where our towering green stalks of sugarcane met the orange groves that dotted the landscape into the horizon. This area was far enough from the heart of the fields where our workers spent most of their time fertilizing the earth and keeping the groves and stalks trimmed and cared for. But even if they ventured to the edges, the shade trees here were thick and leafy, shielding us from view. "I brought it," he said, when I approached and sat next to him on the fallen tree bridging the stream. He handed me a book with a burnt orange cover. I ran my hands over the raised lettering. The Complete Works of Hafiz. We had a small collection of books in our class, but it was no secret that the boys' school had a much bigger library to choose from. "So what did you think?" I asked him. "Which one was your favorite poem?" "Favorite?" he frowned. "Omar!" I exclaimed. "You didn't even read one poem?" "I bring you what you like. Doesn't mean I have to read it." "Yes, you do," I poked him. "I need someone to talk about it with." "Fine," he said, raising his hands in surrender. "I'll read some after you're done. That's how good of a friend I am." Omar's dark hair looked almost brown underneath the bright afternoon sun. Looking at him, it hit me again how unfair it was for God to give me a friend who understood me completely and created him as a boy. "Amal, I know he's your friend, but you're not a little girl anymore," my mother had lectured me for a few months ago when I turned 12. "You can't spend so much time with him." "But he's like our brother," I had protested. "How can I not see him?" "Of course you'll see him around the house. Some conversations can't be avoided, but walking to school together, talking freely the way you both do, people will start gossiping if they aren't already." Omar and I were born 3 days apart. He lived with his mother, our servant, Parveen, in the shed behind our house. They moved there after his dad died, and I'd never known life without him. He was part of the fabric of who I was. I couldn't follow this rule. Neither could Omar. So now we meet in secret to talk, to listen to each other, to laugh. "I told Miss Sadia I wouldn't be able to stay after school," I said. "I'm hoping it's just until the baby comes, but my father says we'll have to see how it goes." "Once things settle down, he'll change his mind." "I hope you're right," I said. "Your father's probably got fed up because Safa unlatched the neighbor's chicken coop again. You know you're the only one who can keep up with her." "Omar, she did not." I tried to stay serious, but a smile escaped. My youngest sister was a constant source of drama in our house. "See, you know I'm right. Your poor father probably spent the morning chasing chickens and apologizing to neighbors." "You need to stop with the Safa conspiracies all the time," I told him. "Ha!" he grinned. "I'm going to have to become a lawyer. Safa will need a team of them with the trouble she gets into." "She's only 3. I swatted him. But just like that, some of the heaviness lifted. He was right. Besides, my father usually gave in to us if we pleaded enough. Speaking of school, the headmaster from Kalib Academy called. I got in. "Omar!" I exclaimed. "I knew it! Didn't I say so?" "And they're going to cover everything. Room and board, all of it. This could change everything for me, Amal. If I do well enough, I could get into their college scholarship. Can you believe it? Maybe I'll even get my mother her own house someday." I hugged him. Omar had been attending the school across from mine, but Kalib was one of the best schools around, a boys' boarding school a few towns over. Attending it was a lucky break for a servant's son like Omar. He was right. It could truly change everything for him. "I wonder what the library there is like," I said. "That was fast," he laughed. "Can I settle into the school first before you have me hunting down books for you?" "No way," I said. but I bet they'll have more than both our classrooms combined. And Hafsa told me some boarding schools have cafeterias with all the food you can eat and televisions in all the bedrooms. I don't know about that, he said, but they do have an after-school chess club and a debate team. And the dorm has a computer lab we can use in our spare time. The only thing is I'll have to share a room with another student, maybe even 2 students. Do you know who they'll be? No. I'll meet them when I go there for orientation weekend, but it'll be strange living with people I don't know. Hafsa's already staked her claim on me to be her roommate when we go to college someday. Well, at least with Hafsa as your roommate, you'll be up to date on all the inside information about everyone and everything on campus. That's definitely a plus, I laughed. The clink of glass bracelets shattered our solitude. It was Seema. She ran toward us, her feet bare. "Come quick," she said between gasps of breath. "The baby's coming." Chapter 4. The 5 minutes it took to run to my home on the other side of the field felt like a lifetime. We zigzagged through the sugar cane, taking shortcuts through the maze we knew so well. Our feet crunched over twigs and fallen leaves until we tumbled into the clearing that led to my house. Flinging open the front door, I raced through our living room and straight into my parents' bedroom. My mother lay in bed. A thin sheet was draped over her. Rahila Bibi, the midwife, pressed a damp towel to her forehead. My mother's eyes were shut. Her jaw clenched. "But this wasn't supposed to happen for another few weeks," I said. "Well, it's happening now." Rahila Bibi rummaged through her bag. My mother exhaled and opened her eyes. She looked at me. Her cheeks were flushed and her forehead was pale. "Amal," she said, "you shouldn't be in here." It was true. Unmarried girls, especially my age, weren't allowed in the birthing area. But how could I stay outside when something was obviously wrong? "I'm worried," I told her. "I'm fine," she said. "Babies come early all the time." She smiled at me, but her eyes didn't crinkle with the upturn of her lips. She patted my arm and moved to say more, but suddenly she gasped and clenched her jaw again. "I'm here." I squeezed her hand. A hand touched my elbow. Omar's mother, Parveen, had arrived. Wisps of black hair framed her face from beneath her chowder. "Amal, I can stay with her now," Parveen told me. "Will you go take care of Safa and Rabia?" "But I want to help." "Taking care of your little sisters is helping. It gives your mother one less thing to worry about." I wanted to stay, but she was right, and it was too hard seeing my mother like this. I stepped into our living room. Rabia and Safia stood stock still in their cotton frocks next to the faded sofa. "Is Amma okay?" Rabia asked. Her lower lip quivered. Safa bit her nails and said nothing. Rabia was 4 years old and Safia was 3. But with their matching black curls and dimples, people often mistook them for twins. "Of course she's fine." I pushed down my own fear and ran a hand through Sabia's springy hair. "The baby's coming. Aren't you excited to meet your new brother or sister?" They glanced at each other and then nodded at me. "Let's go in your bedroom and dress up your dolls while we wait. We can show them to the baby soon." Both girls followed me into their bedroom next to the kitchen. Their window overlooked our courtyard, the concrete floor painted peach where our mother cooked meals when the weather allowed. Safa and Rabia pulled out their dolls and the collection of clothes my mother sewed for them. Soon they were chatting and giggling and getting their dolls ready for a tea party. I tried to focus on their play and push out the image of my mother's closed eyes and pained face. I knew people kept saying they hoped the baby was a boy, but right now I didn't care. I only wanted my mother to be okay. The door creaked. Omar stood by the edge of the bedroom, his hand resting on the knob. "How's she doing?" he asked. "I don't know. I was only in there with her for a few minutes. But it was scary. She looked so weak. Rahila, Bibi, and my mother know what they are doing, Omar tried to reassure me. And you are right here if they need you. The book! I turned to him. I left it by the stream. We ran so fast I forgot all about it. Don't worry about the book. It looked expensive. I'll get it. It's not going anywhere. What if something happens to her? My voice cracked. We don't know anything yet, he said. But don't worry. I'll be here if you need me. I appreciated his words because he did not promise me all would be well. He did not know. Neither did I.